me bring Dipuo Mokola into the conversation. Princess Dipuo Mokola into the conversation. Welcome to Power 98.7. Welcome to Power Perspective, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm really, really good. So, so South African Royal Kingdom's organization, SARKO, been around for a while, and I think since 2021 actually, and you've already been doing well. Just for clarity's sake, ma'am, are you going to be, contesting the elections in all provinces per this general election that we're seeing, or will you be engaging in a few provinces, and or because you've already got quite a few, councillors already, and you've got four from a very short run into an election in 2021, and so quite an achievement in that particular case. But are you engaging nationally in this one, or how are you looking at this particular election?
Thank you very much for the question. We
Sure.
actually are registered, as you know, that this time we have three ballot sheets. They've
Yeah.
actually divided the National Assembly into two 200s. One they call it the regional, one they call it national.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you are aware, having been interviewed different political parties, that IEC, when you are an unrepresented political organization, you had to submit
Okay. Dipuo
supporters.
Dipuo Mokola again. Ma'am, how do you address the Constitution as it is engaged now? Because in essence, there lies, if 1913 is the big hurdle, the element of engaging the Constitution and the Constitutional Court and those particular aspects and the Bill of Rights is the next hurdle to an issue of the land in essence. How do you engage that particular space
Okay.
without a 2/3 majority in it?
The one way is the two-third majority to get rid of the constitution. That is our ultimate goal. Because the constitution was designed by Europeans. You know, there was a WhatsApp video that was running where a guy was saying, we have seen the white people burning the new flag, South African flag.
Mm.
But we've never seen them burn the constitution because the constitution is protecting them. You'll never ever hear the European diasporas in South Africa or Asian diasporas in South Africa for that matter criticizing the constitution because it protects them. Look at the current political landscape now. The IEC was facing 19 court cases. 19. It has never happened. It tells you that there are serious problems within our constitution. And remember, they created Chapter 9 institutions. Now, these Chapter 9 institutions operate purely from a legislature point. Everything that they do is guided by legislature. They don't have a say outside of legislature, which means they are the bulldogs that are guarding to make sure that the constitution is put into place. So we really need to get rid of the constitution. And I can tell you now, we've been talking because we are clear that we're going to go for a coalition government.
Mm.
We are talking as a political organization. And most of them, the ones that I talk to, because obviously you'll talk to people that make sense to you, feel the same way about the constitution. I mean, look at what they did with unrepresented political organization. They had to submit 14,000 supporters before. So the only 52 made it on the ballot sheet. I'm one of them because I worked hard. But however, if you look at the number of political organizations that were outside the system, that the system locked on the 8th of March and they were unable to go in. And that it was a decision that was taken by only 16 political organizations, the one that sits at the parliament right now as we speak. So they wanted to make sure that there is no new blood that comes in. So they just make that decision and they hand it down to the IEC. The IEC must make sure it happens because they're a Chapter 9 institution. So can you see how twisted that is? How can a country have 16 people, 16 organizations that are captured to say they actually are the voice, they are going to make sure that our country is okay? You look at their sponsors as well. They're sponsored by one person. The IEC came up with political funding. We have to submit who is our sponsor. Fortunately, we don't have a sponsor and we don't see anybody sponsoring us unless people that can hear what we are saying. And you look at all of them, they are being given money and sponsored by one person. So they sit in one boardroom. So obviously, we are the people that are being fooled. The community of South Africa is being fooled here. We don't have an opposition in government as we speak. We have seen with this law of supporters, they agreed, all of them, the 16 of them, and they put it as a law to make sure that others don't come into the play, to make sure that they don't have opposition.
Princess Depoa Mokola, so much to say, so much to talk about.
So
I'm going to bring you back after the election, ma'am.
thank you.
And because it's a really interesting conversation because it has so many different facets to it as well.
Yes.
And the land is such an important issue to have, whether it's discussed in a political way or whether it's discussed in a historical way. It has so many facets to it. So, ma'am, thank you so much for coming on to Power Perspective. Thank you so much for coming on to Power 98.7. And I'm going to ask my producers to bring a conversation of this kind back so we can have a much deeper and longer conversation post the elections. I'd really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. You have a lovely evening further.
You.
Thanks.